Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. Now, we're heading back to the lair of that lovable Belgian kickboxer that I just can't seem to shut up about. No! This isn't the Street Fighter review. We're going to take a step back from Street Fighter. In fact, only 3 months prior to the last movie he was in before his career was stuffed deep within Zangief's Speedo. In September of 1994, Jean-Claude Van Damme would star in Timecop, a film adaptation of the Dark Horse comic series Timecop, which ran for 2 issues in September of 1994. Wait a minute, that can't be right. It doesn't make any sense.
Hold on just a second, Decker, I think I can help.
Tim Deanna? How the hell did you do that? I'm still recording!
That's not important, but the truth behind the origin of Timecop is.
No, I think you explaining how you knew what I was filming before I even finished sounds a little more important.
Just listen to me. You know that comic that came out when Timecop was released?
Yeah, Timecop.
Well, that was based on Timecop.
Then what comic is Timecop based off of?
Timecop?
Wait, so there's another Timecop comic?
No.
Tim, God, you got me even more confused than when we started!
Well, that's just the thing. Both Timecop the comic and Timecop the movie were the works of Mike Richardson, founder and publisher of Dark Horse Comics.
So the comic is based on the movie, which is based on the comic, which is...
Now you got it. Well, gotta go.
Wait, no, I didn't say... Tim Deanna? Fuck. Well, time travel has to be easier to figure out than this, so let's get started with Timecop. The movie starts out in Gainesville, Georgia in 1863. We see a small group of Confederate soldiers encounter a lone man in the road wearing a duster.
Why don't you all just show us what a good friend you are by stepping aside?
I'd be most happy to. Except first, I'd be much obliged if you'd give me that gold.
I don't think I heard you correct.
Not sure if that was serious or not, considering the terribly loud rain. I don't know whether or not I heard him right. They bicker for a short while before he pulls out a couple of machine guns and takes out all the soldiers while miraculously not even scratching the horses. This brings us to 1994 on... Oh, crap. That's not a good sign.
What's today's date?
October 10th.
We see a Senate committee gathered, and Scott Lawrence explains to the audience the synopsis for the movie.
Time travel.
Yeah, time travel.
Well, beam me up, Scotty.
The good doctor actually did it. I thought that'd get your attention. Now, you can't go forward because the future hasn't happened yet. However, you can go back, and that's where things get real tricky.
What? The future hasn't happened yet? Well, what the hell does that matter? And furthermore, how the hell can you go back? I know it makes for an interesting movie, but currently our best theories regarding time travel clearly state that you can move forward, but can't go back. But I guess Mike Richardson knows better. I mean, what the fuck did that idiot Albert Einstein ever accomplish?
Well, this is not a good time to ask for money, George. You know, the economy.
The economy? You're complaining about the economy in 1994? It's too bad you can't travel forward in time, otherwise you might learn something. But Scott explains the gravity of the situation with the example of the opening.
Not bad.
I'll try this one on for size. We think there's already been a ripple. 10 days ago, CIA broke up an arms sale to a bunch of Middle Eastern terrorists in Hamburg, Germany. It's the fact that the purchase was made with gold bullion, and the gold bullion was dated 1863 and stamped property of the Confederate States of America. We had it carbon tested and authenticated, and it's real.
What? This is something they could cut the fat with already in the government. You carbon tested the gold? Do you have any idea how pointless that is? Gold has no carbon in it. And even if it did, the way carbon testing works is you detect the amount of decay in the carbon, and if the object had traveled through time, then that decay would not be there, and carbon testing something like that might indicate it's a forgery, if anything. So Senator McComb chimes in, and the Time Cops get their funding. The next scene brings us to a mall with a woman walking alone. Okay, action movie, 7 minutes in, first woman we've seen. I'm guessing love interest. Man, I'm getting good at this! And this introduces us to Max Walker, played by Jean-Claude Van Damme. He establishes right away that he is the hero. Was there an epidemic of rollerblading thieves wearing tucked-in flannel shirts in the mid-90s? I must have missed that. But nevertheless, he then takes the time to establish his relationship with Melissa, played by Mia Sara. They're, close.
Max?
What?
I have something I want to tell you.
Shit.
Oh, don't you just hate it when that happens? Right when you're fully expectant to finish your sentence. So evidently, he has to head to work right then and there. You'd think with time travel it wouldn't matter too much if he were late.
I have to go. There's something you want to tell me?
Yes.
Can you wait until I get back?
Sure.
It's so frustrating when you're full with this question and you want to tell your husband, but you're late, and yeah, she's pregnant. What, don't believe me? Why else would this happen? So out of nowhere, 3 goons show up and beat the living shit out of Max. The music and editing do work pretty well for this scene, but I can't help but notice inconsistent rain between shots. Well, that was a short movie. But of course, Max happened to be wearing a bulletproof vest and rushes to help Melissa. However, you know, best to just stay down this time. I wouldn't want a meteorite to fall on you or anything. And this horrifying scene transitions over to an even more terrifying one, Wall Street in 1929. It's a usual scene after the stock market crash, but one character seems unusually optimistic.
Well, shit happens.
Predictably at this point, it turns out he smuggled a 2004 newspaper back to the past, and with this information at hand, he buys tons of stock in... oil? You don't need an anachronistic news article in order to remember oil!
Russ, hi. Yeah, listen, I want another 100,000 shares of Middle States Oil. No, just buy it.
But wouldn't you know it, Max just so happens to travel back to where he's at. Considering the time travel component of this law enforcement, how can you chalk up to arriving after the crime as anything other than sheer incompetence? But now that it's time to apprehend the man, I'm sure they'll be certain to prevent any more fuck-ups in the timeline. Anyway, after completely fucking the future, the man explains that he's only doing it to raise funds for Senator McComb's presidential campaign, but won't testify out of fear that his family would be erased from history. With that, he throws himself out the window, but Max does manage to pull him back to the future. We are immediately shown a short tribunal within the TEC, where the former agent refuses to speak and is thus sentenced to death. So I guess the rule in the future is to play it where it lays. And wouldn't you know it, minutes later, the senators just so happen to be taking a tour of the TEC facility, McComb in tow. And even better, Max walks along with them, having a chat. Their exchange is actually pretty well written.
Nothing worse than a rogue cop.
Except the guy who paid him.
If there is such a guy.
There always is.
Do you know who the man is?
Oh, yeah. Why don't you arrest him? I lost my witness.
Oh. Well, I trust you'll keep working on it.
You can bet on it.
And furthermore, McComb expresses his interest in shutting down the TEC.
Every time an agent goes back, he risks making contact with a past version of himself. That could be a disaster.
And why is that, Senator? The same matter can't occupy the same space at the same time.
What? Okay. Are any of you out there familiar with quantum physics? You know, superpositions? The ability for one particle to exist in 2 places at once? And even if the same matter can't occupy the same space, what's the risk? We are constantly shedding cells and growing new ones. The chance for one person to have, in two distinct time periods, 10 years apart, the same matter in their bodies is highly unlikely. And even if they did, the chance of that matter touching are so low, I'd venture to say that you could literally go fuck yourself with no real problem. Well, except for the strange fact that you, for some reason, want to fuck yourself. And with that, McComb takes his leave, hearing how the numbers are coming together for his upcoming presidential campaign.
That's from now to Election Day. And it's a big number, Senator. Even going back again, I don't see how you could get it all in time.
Excuse me? How the fuck can you not have enough time when you can travel through time? Thank you! And evidently, McComb has made himself quite busy, as the next morning, hitmen arrive to silence Max Walker. This action sequence here is a bit of a mixed bag, as the fights are entertaining and the direction alright, but because of the lighting, it is a bit harder to see than I'd like. But this does introduce us to Agent Fielding, Max's new partner, that just so happens to be outside when all this is going on. Police action movie, new partner, let me guess, Yeah, of course. And without fail, Max is told he absolutely has to take her on the next mission, and with that, we get... Okay, look, I'm as much of a fan of naked women as any other man, but what the fuck is going on?
Damn it, Ricky, I catch you fucking this machine again, I'll break your neck.
Sorry, Chief.
Okay. So the mission control is in his trusted, sticky hands. And 40 minutes into the movie, we're given the big dramatic reveal of the time machine, with the overly dramatic launch sequence. To be honest, it looks pretty good and is well written and all, but since they dropped the ball on time travel 5 minutes into the film and we've already seen people traveling through half a dozen times at this point, why the big fanfare now? The launch sequence seems to go right, but they both end up back in time a little off target. So, time travel isn't really an exact science. They're close enough to their destination, and find they've been sent to Data Link Systems on the day McComb gave up his partnership. And it turns out the ripple in time was McComb himself, coming back to change this oversight and reap the profits for his presidential campaign. I think something so personal, would have been the first thing he went back and changed.
Never interrupt me when I'm talking to myself.
Max catches him in the act, and with Fielding's help, confronts him.
What's that?
The senator was having a fundraiser.
I'm in office, it's going to be like the 80s again. Top 10% will get richer, the other 90% can emigrate to Mexico where they can live a better life.
Oh, those crazy old politics. What a truly enlightened age we live in now. But as he brought in 4 goons and hasn't even used them yet, Fielding turns out to have been working for McComb's interests all along. Well, will they at least make an attempt to not fuck up the timeline too much in this action sequence? I guess not. And defying video game logic, Max somehow successfully uses explosive red barrels as cover in the firefight. Confronting McComb as he is about to head back, Fielding defends McComb one last time before...
Don't you leave me, goddammit!
Who are you talking to?
And I suppose that completes the cliché. Failing his mission, Walker heads back to 2004 and finds that this little mix-up really fucked up the future. Trying to explain the situation to his boss, the fact that the timeline has changed makes it a bit more difficult.
Do I know them?
Fielding was with me. You sent her.
Look, I don't like this guy one little bit, but just who the hell you think I can sell this story to without a smoking gun and about 50 eyewitnesses?
He does get through to them, though, and they head down to send Max back one last time to find Fielding to use as a witness against McComb. And when he goes back in time... he's only 3 feet tall? Upon finding Fielding, it turns out all Max needs is proof she existed, and evidently a blood sample marked Jane Doe is good enough. Wait, if she is alert and talking, why the fuck is she filed as a Jane Doe? Man, this hospital really must not give a fuck about its patients. However, he finds something else while searching. But, oh well, you can't change the timeline, right? Unfortunately, while Max was screwing around, an assassin just so happened to finish off Fielding. Soon enough, the staff calls for security and Max rushes to escape. Well, now that's done, it's time to head back to show the vial of blood to the authorities. Right?
It's me. 10 years from now, it's me.
That's not possible.
Remember, Matuzak, the new job, time travel.
For the last 10 years you've left this part of your life unchanged. Why do you only want to change it now? I mean, I understand why you would want to, but 10 years and well, fuck it. We get a short reprise of the opening sequence, then find out that on the night of the steamy sex, Future Max just so happened to be creepily hanging around the first floor.
Why can't we just get out of here? Why can't we just run away from whatever it is?
They would come back as many times as it takes. It has to end tonight. Hurry! Keep him upstairs.
What?
You knew it was coming. It was a TEC car.
Okay, the goons from the beginning were sent from the future, even though the opening sequence pseudoscience explained the future hadn't happened yet, and all the stuff that happened earlier in the future hadn't happened before this stuff that led to the goons being sent to attack Max, and they just killed his wife, not him. There's a lot of things you have to simply ignore in order to make this remotely feasible. But honestly, this action sequence is nicely pulled off. The dark shots are shot in actually dark locations, not day for night, so you can make out outlines and highlights a lot better. It's still hard to see at some points, but it's acceptable, and the action is pretty good, even though at times it is disgustingly cliché. And of course, it all comes to a head when Future McComb himself shows up and holds Melissa hostage. Not to mention, he sets a time bomb, which will obliterate this house in 5 minutes? When they showed this earlier, it took maybe 5 seconds! But Past Max throws a wrench in the works, and the climactic battle continues. He falls unconscious, but Future Max keeps on fighting. We then find...
It's different than before, isn't it?
McComb holding up Melissa? We just saw this 1 minute ago. I mean, she was on the other side, but same damn shot nonetheless. But Max shows off his powers of Deus Ex Machina, and we see what happens in what was obviously going to be the way the bad guy goes down, future and past matter existing in the same space. They turn into disgusting, horrifying, low-quality CGI effects. And now that the timer has given itself a mere 15 more seconds, Max has just enough time to pick up Melissa and run away from a huge explosion. I'd give that explosion 6 out of 10. Returning to the present in 2004, Max finds everything is mostly normal, despite the fact that he himself has no idea what's been going on for the last 10 years.
Look, if you want time off, ask for it. Don't act like you're out of your head.
I've got a blank spot.
And upon returning home, he finds... it's still standing? Huh? Okay, I'll accept that he's got a 9-year-old kid because, his pregnant wife survived, but his house blew up! Twice! Yes, they changed the past, but why is it that doing so in this movie only seems to change some events here or there? There's not enough time to explain this because the problem is an infinite loop of events that must and can't happen based on specific changes, and The concept of fucking the space-time continuum simply isn't addressed in this movie. Well, that was Timecop, and it was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, it's flawed. Time travel is an interesting field of science fantasy to exploit, but the details they do give us in this film either make no sense or contradict themselves. However, despite this, for the most part, the effects and props used in this movie look really good and help draw you into the world. The acting is overall good, with decent performances given all around, though the writing shifts quite a bit in quality, trying for jokes that honestly don't work.
You look like shit to me.
The action, however, is very good despite not necessarily trying to push the boundaries too much. Van Damme gives a good performance and his trademark splits, but time travel and science fiction hardly seem to factor into the fights at all. The plot, though, is very basic, especially considering time travel. You have a rich antagonist going for a greater position of power, your partner working for the bad guy, and the very predictable climactic sequence. So overall, the fights are entertaining and the acting is alright, but the storyline is so predictable and the science so lacking, Timecop makes its mark on history at 3 horny nerds out of 5. Like A Bucket of Blood, Timecop is an enjoyable film for fans of the genre, but if you're not into people beating the shit out of each other while delivering one-liners, Timecop is just an average movie. Thank you all for watching. I've been Decker Shado, and remember, Tim Deanna is watching you.
Ooh, Psycho.
Will you do me a favor? Will you lay off the fucking candy bars?